Hello again, back for more. So, notes 7-7 for Math 7. That's a lot of sevens. These are circle problems. So, yesterday we focused on circle vocab. Make sure you refresh that before coming in. And today we're going to actually put some of those formulas into practice here. So, the area formula that we learned yesterday was that area equals pi r squared. Remembering that that is a squared and not a r2 or r times 2. That's squared, meaning that you're taking the radius and multiplying it by itself twice. We're going to put a little blue star here, and then that tells us that this is given on our reference sheet. Meaning that when you take your state test at the end of like April or something, you'll have that on your formula sheet. You just need to remember to look it up. I believe in you. Next, we need to talk about our circumference formula. And remember, you need to remind yourself of what circumference actually is. And circumference is just the fancy name for the perimeter or the outside of a circle. And this perimeter formula actually comes from our pi formula and what we know about pi. So you might recall that last lesson we talked about the fact that pi was equal to a circle's circumference divided by its diameter. So we're going to use that here. So if we go back here, and this is just a little sidebar in the corner, we have pi is equal to the circumference divided by the diameter. We're going to use this to make a formula for circumference, right? We want to solve this equation for circumference. Well, if you notice, what is preventing circumference from being by itself is the diameter. Circumference and diameter are being divided here, so that means the opposite or the inverse would be to multiply both sides by diameter, canceling my diameter out, leaving me with circumference equals diameter times pi. So your first circumference formula that we're going to talk about or that you're going to use is circumference equals pi times diameter. And that formula is also given to you on your reference sheet. So that's going to go along with that little star up there. But now there is a different version or a different way to write this circumference formula, just like we can rewrite, area equals 1/2 length times width versus base times height, no 1/2. So think about, we know we can't change circumference equals, can't change pi, but think, what do we know about the diameter? Yesterday in our vocab, we learned that the diameter was the width or the entire length from one endpoint to another going through the center of the circle. We also learned that from one endpoint to the center of the circle was called the radius. And we determined that a radius was half of the diameter, right? If I have a circle and it has a radius of 5, that means its diameter would be 10 for the entire thing. So I can, instead of writing diameter, I can turn that into 2 times radius. Now, noticing here that I do have 2r, 2 times radius, and not radius times radius, like I do with radius squared. That's why it's super important to make sure your handwriting is legible and that you can read your own writing, most importantly. When we're going to be using both of these formulas today, notice, what do they have in common? $1,000,000 question. Every single one of those problems has the pi in it. So pi is the answer to what both formulas have in common. So because of pi, because you're using pi in that formula, what do you know about the way pi looks when you plug it into your calculator? Well, it's a very ugly, never-ending, non-repeating, irrational number. Because of that, you are going to get ugly irrational, never-ending, non-repeating decimals as your answers. Because of that, because of pi, you're going to get ugly decimals. First and foremost, make sure you write your decimal down first. First, write the decimal down. This will prevent you from losing points in the event you make a mistake when you're rounding, because then your second step, or then you can round accordingly. And when I say accordingly, I mean based on like what the problem is telling you, what the directions say. So you're gonna have to read. I know. Oh, I hate to read. Okay, so we're gonna put some of these formulas into work next.